Hi everyone, how's it going? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and welcome to The Aftermath. This is a series I've been thinking about for a while. I wanted to give it a shot today and see how it played out. And what I want to do is look at a movie once it's opened, look at the opening weekend numbers, at least the estimates, look at the audience response, look at the critical response to determine whether or not the movie has legs, whether or not the movie is going to stumble and fall, or whether or not it's going to become a cult classic. And today, I really wanted to talk about Hellboy. The Neil Marshall directed film starring David Harbour has had a really, really, really rough opening. I wish I could say that this one actually... I wish I could say that it actually did better than it did. But even just looking here at the IMDb top 10, we can see that Shazam was number one with a $25 million weekend. Little was number two with $15 million, and Hellboy only $12 million. Only $12 million for Hellboy. And that has a lot to do with just, at this point, negative critical response to the film. And I think a lot of people out there who grew up watching the Guillermo del Toro movies, because it's been 15 years since the first movie came out this month, I think that had a lot to do with it. Never mind the fact that the trailers were maybe a little bit uneven and there were some definite problems there. But Shazam winning for the third weekend in a row. Congrats to Shazam. That's a really good movie. But I would have loved to have seen Hellboy beat out Little, which just comes across as a derivative remake or reimagining of Big. And the reviews haven't been that kind to it as well. But I wanted to talk about the budget of the movie. I wanted to talk about what it costs to make and whether or not this movie can actually find itself in a position to make some serious green, or to at least make enough green to get a sequel out of it. So looking here at the Box Office Mojo page, we see that it had a production budget of $50 million. And that's not bad considering. $12 million take home on $50 million is not great, not the end of the world. As we can see here, there's only the domestic total of 12 million down over here. And so far, there is no worldwide opening. I don't know when the movie comes out worldwide. So hopefully when it does, it will be able to find a better foothold, and one that will ultimately allow it to make some of that cash back to become profitable enough in order for the franchise to continue going forward. Because look, the movie was a lot of fun. I had a great deal of fun with it. I would like to see more from this particular creative team, because I feel that there was enough behind the scenes drama to kind of derail a bit of it, but maybe they've learned their lesson and they want to come back and give us something that is very much worthy of the Hellboy name, even though a lot of people out there didn't really, well, they didn't go see it. But even looking over here at the cinema score, we find ourselves in a bit of a situation where it could be a bit better. Looking here, it shows us that Hellboy has a C cinema score, which it seems about on par with the tomato meter for the audience score, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Little and Missing Link both got higher. After, which is a movie I've never heard of, also got higher scores than Hellboy. And I think it's because a lot of people might have been turned off by the gore, what some people determine as unnecessary swearing in the movie. I don't believe there's ever such a thing as unnecessary swearing, so that's just me. But the cinema score being a C is definitely not going to help it in some aspects. Well, I guess that is if you look at those particular metrics. But even coming over here to just the Hellboy IMDb page, we can see that the movie didn't score very well, with a 5.5 out of 10, coming in at about close to 7,000 ratings. We can see that right there. And again, I would like to have seen it do a bit better, but that's what we're dealing with. Going over here to the Metacritic, because I want to show you guys what it says over here for that as well. It's sitting at a paltry 31%. Now, this is based off of 41 critical reviews, but they're generally unfavorable. But 31%, where the audience score is only like 4.1. The Metacritic is not very good in regards to the film. So there is that. Again, this movie is being panned left and right, but it does have a more favorable Metacritic score on that website than it does on Rotten Tomatoes. Looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page for Hellboy, it has a 15% tomato meter, but a 65% audience score. The tomato meter is coming in at 145 reviews counted versus the 41 on Metacritic, and the audience score is 2,473. So really not that many, but then again, it is just Sunday. That number could increase. But looking here at the general consensus, it says, bereft of the imaginative flair that made earlier Hellboy so enjoyable, this soulless reboot suggests Dante may have left the 10th circle out of his inferno. And again, I don't necessarily believe that's 100% fair, but I did want to show you guys just a couple of the critical responses, at least the top ones that you might see if you're looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page, showing us here that Kate Walsh from the Tribune News Service says, this all hurdles at a relentless, unforgiving pace, glued together with many, many crunchy guitar licks. You don't so much as watch the movie as submit to being pummeled by it. That's pretty bad. David Sims of The Atlantic says, an R-rated slog that's heavy on the bad attitude and creative dismemberments and completely misses the human core of Mignola's original story, which some agree and disagree with that one. And then we have Chandler Levac from Globe and Mail saying, watching Hellboy is my new personal idea of hell. See, I know you're being clever there, and you submitted that yourself. That's true, he did. Chandler submitted that quip himself as being like, this is me being edgy, you guys. This is me being super, super edgy. When in reality, the 50 Shades franchise is far worse. Is far, 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 far worse than this. But the audience, on the other hand, the audience actually says different. In fact, these are the couple of the top ones that I pulled off of the audience score. Joseph R. here says, 4 stars, by the way. A little disjointed, but the plot is still easily followed and understood. If you look at this movie strictly as a reboot and discount the previous 2 movies, you will enjoy it a lot more. With Nathan M. here giving it 4 stars in a much longer review, saying this is a fun reboot. Admittedly, I'm bummed that it isn't Ron Perlman behind the mask, but David Harbour does justice to the character. I appreciate using different characters in this round from the wonderfully rich Mignolaverse. Any negative comments either don't actually know what Hellboy is about, don't appreciate the storycraft of Mike Mignola, or got caught up in the unnecessary cursing. As a devoted fan to all things Mignola, I thought that this was a wonderful addition to the Mignola Hellboy catalog. Also worth noting, if you think Golden Army is better than this one, you are wrong. The reason I wanted to showcase that particular response is I feel it gets it. Nathan gets it. He understands why people like Hellboy. He understands why people wanted to see more of these type of characters. And if you watch the movie, and maybe I'm being a little bit on the editorial side here, a little bit more opinionated, I love the world building in this movie. I loved how it expanded upon what we saw in the first 2 films and playing off of those as maybe a point of reference where not so much as being in the same universe, I think really helped kind of just really expand the mindset. But this is still a wholly original film in and of itself. And again, the Baba Yaga stuff is absolutely insane. But I did want to compare it to the previous 2 films simply because this been brought up and we're never going to be able to get away from that one here. So pulling together a shot from both Hellboy and Hellboy 2, we see that Hellboy, which opened up April 2015 or 2004, sorry, I don't know why I said 2015, but 2004, with an 81% tomato meter and a 65% audience score. So around the same audience score, but we can see the 2,400 scores from this movie versus the 458,000 from this movie that's 15 years old. Saying here, with wit, humor, and Guillermo del Toro's fantastic visuals, the entertaining Hellboy transcends the derivative nature of the genre, with Hellboy the Golden Army coming out in June or July, I believe, of 2008, with an 86%, so a higher tomato meter, and a 71% with nearly 823,000 people having voted on that one, saying Guillermo del Toro crafts a stellar comic book sequel boasting visuals that are imaginative as the characters are endearing. And the truth of the matter is they're right. Both Hellboy and Hellboy the Golden Army, which feels so long ago that those came out, were fantastic films. This movie is not that, but it's being held and being compared to those movies because in some people's minds, they are the perfect comic book film. The amount of love and care that Guillermo brought to those movies is apparent. And Neil Marshall didn't have the same kind of freedom that Guillermo del Toro did. He didn't have the same kind of budget that Guillermo del Toro did. He was very much restricted. There were 16 producers on this movie. And if you have paid attention to any of the behind the scenes drama, you know that it was a constant fight. It was a constant fight. So what we got out of this, I think is a cobbling together of a lot of good that unfortunately wasn't given the amount of time to shine in the way that it needed to be perfect. But then again, nothing is really ever perfect, but I do think this movie is far better than people are giving it credit for. I think this movie is far greater than people are willing to accept. And I think that because of a love of Ron Perlman, which makes absolute sense because the dude's great, you're going to be kind of held back by that. I went into it with those expectations as well, but then they quickly left. And when I started realizing that David Harbour is going to be doing his own thing, and I liked what he did. Now, as for the future of the franchise, this is one where it is up in the air. It's a $50 million budgeted movie. Lionsgate is terrible with marketing these kind of things. I like to kind of harken back to Dread, a similar comic book adaptation, $50 million budget, Lionsgate putting it out there. And they didn't know how to market it in 2012, right? It was just Dread 3D. They didn't know how to market that movie at all. But this one, they tried a little bit harder. They embraced the R rating. They embraced the gore. And the movie didn't disappoint in those fronts. And a lot of people really like it for that. So I think this is one that through positive word of mouth from people who have seen it are going to ultimately end up really helping it out. But as for box office, I don't think it's going to reach its 50 million. I just don't, which is unfortunate. It's definitely not going to earn back the budget plus marketing costs and everything else associated with it to turn a bit of profit. But it's entirely possible that the show could do well enough on home video to where the producers look at it and they go, okay, well, David Harbour is done with Stranger Things. Why don't we adapt this into being a streaming service? Why don't we take this and shop this around to different streaming services and get it out there as a show, as a series, and put it out in that particular fashion? And I think if they were to do that, that would be more of the future of this franchise. But that being said, I will gladly watch this movie again, and I will gladly watch any kind of sequel that comes from it, because there is something here that is like a diamond in the rough, and it's something that I feel is being too unfairly held to the standards of its predecessor when it was never going to reach that because of all the drama that preceded it. But look, these are just my thoughts in general. If you want to get my full review, I will have it linked in the video description over on 3Buck Reviews. If you do like this series, if you like this aftermath kind of breaking things down, let me know. I really want to hear your thoughts, your opinions, so write them in the comment section. Please thumbs up the video, subscribe if you're new, and check back often for more content from me here on 3Buck Theater. As always, my name is Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.